Got a video here from you guys, the male loneliness epidemic. Shoe on head, let's see.
Are not okay. That's right, folks. The men are not okay. The men have no friends, no girlfriend, no college education, no money, are breaking their legs and inserting metal rods into their bones to be a few inches taller, and listening to AI Batman help them overcome their pornography addictions.
You deserve real love.
Turns out the society that was built by and allegedly for men has indeed let them down. Now you might be thinking, oh look, another boo-hoo poor men video by Shoe on Head. Yes. And if you have a problem with that, tune into literally anything else. Men are in a crisis, and it seems nobody really cares. And the people who do care just seem like the people who want to sell them shit. Not me. I'm different. So before we get into this, let's quickly get into today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Holzkern. Holzkern is a young Austrian and thank you, the viewer, as always, for not skipping the ad.
Why are men and boys struggling? And what should we do about it?
A few new studies have come out that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before. But it's not just men. The women and children, too. It's predicted 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. But according to the media, this is a good thing. The she-economy is booming, as they say. And meanwhile, men being single is treated like this.
New study explains why some single men are having a hard time finding a new partner.
Some of the music that they listen to speaks very derogatory.
Right. Yeah, men, stop listening to that derogatory music. Then maybe you won't be single. I don't know, I think men and women being single and lonely kind of shows there might be something wrong with society. Perhaps we should address this, not just wave it off as empowering or pathetic. According to several different articles, I love how that's my source, I read about it on the internet, research shows that people from individualist countries show a greater sense of loneliness. This is linked to socioeconomic development, increased education, a shift towards white-collar jobs, and urbanization. Japan also has an issue with loneliness. In fact, they have a whole movement of people they call the hikikomori. Did I say that right? I don't care. Basically, postmodern hermits. Mostly young men who completely withdraw from society, secluding themselves in their rooms for months and years at a time. In 2010, there was an estimated 700,000 hikikomori in Japan. And today, it's estimated to be about 1.55 million. And because of things like this, people aren't having babies, so Japan's population has been in a sharp decline since 2011. It's gotten so bad that Japan even produces videos of live-action women staring into the camera to help the hikikomori learn to cope with eye contact and reintegrate them back into society. So basically, if you want to know America's future,
just look at Japan. Exactly. That's where we're headed with the AI-powered girlfriends. You think social awkwardness is a thing now? Just wait until you don't even have to deal with the opposite sex, because you could have an AI girlfriend. Boy, oh boy. Let's watch the replenishment rate of a country plummet overnight.
Look no further than Japan. A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially on the rise of social media and technology. RIP to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall when I can just tap, 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 buy a new microphone, and have it shipped to me in a day? Why hang out with friends when I can get all my social interaction I need from Twitter and streamers? Why go on dates and bother meeting women when I can just tap, 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 Google big boob and get 2 million results? Or see my high school crush's holes on OnlyFans for only $5. Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction, and hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend? We're f***ed. We're so f***ed. Dating apps really are the great Satan, and I'm convinced they've completely broken men's brains. Women on dating apps are picky. Women in general are picky, and I mean, naturally we are pickier. You know, we're the ones who carry the babies. At least for now. But on dating apps, you have to admit, it's a little insane. It's safe to say that the commodification of love and the window shopping of dating apps probably has to do a lot with the rise of lonely single men. Men are not just lonely when it comes to dating, they're lonely when it comes to friendship too. According to Vox, Americans are currently in a friendship recession, and men are being hit the hardest. The percentage of men who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friendships. Looking at all these statistics, the explosion of figures like Andrew Tate is not surprising at all.
I believe being a man is a blessing because it starts so difficult. I believe that every man is born without any value at all. I think that the world's never going to think you're important unless you make yourself important.
And recently, a new study came out about how young men are moving towards the right. And every other month, we, the liberal, sockdem, leftists, whatever you want to call this space online, performs the same song and dance. What's wrong with men? Why is this happening? Why don't we have a leftist Andrew Tate? We need to push men to the left. Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and the left only talks about men when they talk about Andrew Tate. A few months ago, during one of the monthly song and dances, some progressive people I follow made the mistake of addressing men's issues, and the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at their own spaces.
The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them for our own sake.
For not doing enough to address said men's issues.
Recently, there were some statistics by healthcare company Cigna indicating that men are the loneliest generation. And addressing it doesn't mean that you turn your back on issues pertaining to women, but it does mean that we should be focused on what it is in society that is leading to this epidemic, what the left can do to offer solutions, and how we can basically,
stop talking about toxic masculinity because it doesn't exist. They're just toxic people. Stop demonizing men and traditional men. Stop demonizing all the things men have natural inclinations for. Stop treating us like we're evil and we're predators. How about you start there and then we can have a conversation?
basically fight back against the more nefarious figures who have filled the void that men are struggling with, people like Jordan Peterson and what have you.
Wow.
Now, recently, Vosh, who's a popular streamer, had tweeted this thread that I think is really, really important to address. He writes, "I cannot stress enough how important it is to understand that 12-year-old white boys on Twitch are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't."
The responses to these tweets and this content were very normal, level-headed, and respectful. Me when I lie.
Here we go.
LMAO, cry about it. Boo f***ing who? Oh no, poor widow men having problems. Boo f***ing who? Grow the f*** up then. Have men considered being smarter? I'm enjoying all these sad little moids and their sad little tweets about their sad, pathetic lives. Sounds like a personal problem. Is the lack of compassion for men in the room with us right now? Maybe men are just not good people then. I'm so f***ing tired of people trying to make male loneliness a huge societal problem. Yeah, no, their fifis are not my responsibility, and I shouldn't have to be punished because they can't get their shit together as human beings. Grow the f*** up. Why are we trying to win these entitled little predators over? The left isn't for them. That's why they go right in the first place. We're all lonely and alienated. It's young men going to the alt-right in droves. The problem isn't our messaging, it's them. It's literally not our problem. Men flock to Andrew Tate not because they're lonely, but because they're bigots. Hope this helps. Nah, it's just misogynists being louder than before and not getting laid. LOL. Cry harder, losers. 90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators. We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence. By the way, you know the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist and rapists, male tears, penises are evil, blah 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've just let me cook back then. Listen up, chuckle. I'm white, socially awkward, autistic, in my 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist, because I recognized most of the sort that look like me are the problem. I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping the situation. The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them, for our own sake. I'm sorry, but how is respect women brain-dead advice? What advice? Don't rape? Don't be a rapist is bad advice? Help, I have no friends or community, I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping. Act like a decent fucking human being. It's not hard is brain dead advice. Brain dead advice like get consent and don't be a Nazi and women are people. Walking up to men struggling with loneliness and depression like
kids, don't be racist.
Incredible. Here's my actual advice I would give to my teen boys as a leftist. 1. Always get enthusiastic consent. 2. Save the planet. 3. Don't say that. It's actually kind of racist. Like, what the f is this? How does this address men and their issues? It doesn't. Why does their advice always seem to be, become a liberal? Hey men, here's how to fix all your problems. Agree with me politically. Men flock to the MRA movement because they're the largest beneficiaries of MRA shit. Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest beneficiaries of women's rights. Like, no f***ing shit. Let's be honest, aside from procreation purposes, men have become obsolete. Most women can find other methods of achieving orgasm without a man there. And speaking as a man, most of us are horrid to be around, and
Bro, can you look at this guy? Look at Brian. Look at him. He has a double chin. He's bald. Is it any surprise that this guy's on the other team? That he sucks up to women? Hopefully I get laid one day if I'm a good little boy and agree with everything you say. One day you'll give me pity sex. Disgusting.
I don't blame any woman for just saying, no thanks. Oh my god, dude, this is what every Just Pearly Things tweet looks like to me. Just with the genders swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? Jerking off. As a man, I'll say this. Sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll feel better. I promise. Yeah, guys, just beat one out. Just off. Just watch porn. Batman will be very disappointed in all of you. It's so funny how men feel entitled to a girlfriend. No, you sexist freak. When one side is like, wanting a girlfriend is sexist entitlement, and the other side is like, here's how to get a girlfriend. I don't know, bro. What happened to males just kicking the bucket? Now they just come on here and try to make their loneliness and misery into some social justice issue. Oh, trust me. Men are still kicking the bucket. And when they're not giving mind-blowing advice like just to be a liberal, they're outright dismissing men's issues completely. It's not our job to educate them. Since men created the problem, they need to take steps to fix it. We have other things to care about. Men can figure out their—
If these comments alone don't show the validity of red pill ideals, I don't know what else possibly could. You are a man. No one's coming to save you. No one cares about your problems. It's up to you. You have no value in society. All these tenets are true. Even when it's not your fault, it's still your fault. Do you see what I mean? Don't expect pity. Don't expect a handout. Don't expect help from anybody. You have to take the initiative as a man. This is why self-improvement, growth, all of this stuff is so important for a man to undergo because there is no other option. You don't get to just beat one out and feel better about yourself. That's not how this shit works.
Their own problems that they created. Again, it's not women's jobs to change how men are socialized. It's a man issue and y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created their own problems. Men can solve their own problems. The left is busy. Why does the well-being of other people concern me? Leftist, by the way. It's all systemic issues and societal factors and blah 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 until it's a man and then suddenly it's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. This problem is just a consequence of the patriarchy. Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy. Solve your own problems and leave women alone. These people rightly mock the bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man and then it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild. And it's kind of like both sides are telling men to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but one is like, I'll show you how, and the other is like, fuck off. And when they're not telling men to straight up fuck off, they're giving the 200 IQ answer that nobody has ever heard before. Just show your emotions, bro. And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this. Oh, you're crying at your grandfather's funeral? Okay, faggot. And studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the homies. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history? Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men. Now, while a lot of this may be true, men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomena. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of like gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s, but social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of dating apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely, i.e. so insufferable that nobody wants to sleep with them.
This is the greatest ad for Passport, bro, and escaping this hellhole you could ever ask for right here. I'm telling you. Don't expect things to get better here in the West. Just move, leave. It's not your job to fix this shit. Clearly, they say it's not their job to help you fix this shit, so it's nobody's job apparently. Look out for yourself, just like they want you to.
So much more pressing than the poor distribution of wealth causing people to suffer food and housing insecurity. Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and are suicidal, wah. Because feeling alienated under capitalism apparently isn't a thing. People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant, men have been dropping out of college like flies, and what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate. In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing, but then absolutely drops the ball when it comes to everything and anything related to men's cultural issues. Many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
The question of whether or not the hashtag online left does enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And
what the all right, he really is wearing like makeup and lipstick. Cool. This is your cue. This is the man. This is the left. This is the left new male that we need to take our cues from. This is the guy that's going to come save the day, and he'll probably be arrested in 5 years because they found, probably I shouldn't say that. Never mind. I feel for you guys. I really do. Those of you that have grown up without a father, growing up without a brotherhood, lonely, depressed, feels like life has no meaning. You don't have any tools to help you find your purpose. It's not easy, man. You're just kind of floating in the ether. You have no direction. You just wake up to breathe air and then go to sleep just because you feel tired. And you have to wake up and do this shit every single day. It's harder now to be a man than it's ever been in the history of the world. We've never been so poorly equipped as men to handle life and all its struggles that are unique to us. Never in the history of humanity. I've harped on this before about having coming of age, having rituals, proving yourself as a man, arriving into manhood, competition, brotherhood, finding your own tribe, being useful is something that men derive great pleasure in, being useful to people, having a use. That's what brings value to us. Men feel like they have no use in society today. That's the feeling. What am I useful for? I just feel like I'm here to exist. I'm taking up space. And then you have a bozo that looks like this. Fucking disgusting. That's going to somehow tell you the right way to live. When you don't identify with this, I don't even want to say the word that's in my head, so I'll just say this. But you don't identify with this kind of man. And then they wonder why there's a disconnect. Why aren't they listening? Why aren't they coming over to our side of the political spectrum? Why are they such losers? Why are they alone? Why do they feel so hopeless? It's they're men. Just get over it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, bro. Just go out there and get a job, bro. Just go out there and meet people, bro. Just open up Tinder, bro. It's not that hard. Absolutely clueless at the day-to-day life of an average man in the world today. It's fucking ridiculous, to be honest.
Men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting.
The average young man in America isn't Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people they're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have, this
guy's making a strong argument for eugenics.
It's going to be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is. Are you a CIA agent? The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But don't get me wrong, Republicans will not do shit. The Republican Party will not do shit. The establishment in general will not do shit to help any of this. But the right is at least rhetorically, offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this Discord comes up, there's people like, we need a leftist Andrew Tate. We need masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men, because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny to laugh at insane people on Twitter, as always, there have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues. If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you, because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA or a pick-me. But lately I have seen a lot of good pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content, it's always framed around how do we get them? As if men are just pawns and tools for your personal politics. How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder. Disposable soldiers in the culture war and real war. Anyway, misandry is real. Oh good, finally! And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh. Y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way. I see, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop! It's affecting a group I care about now. I love how the rhetoric just like evolved overnight, from male tears to cis male tears. And I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry,
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to like have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow. I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man, he's like, this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on, bro. Men struggling don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy. They don't want to be told it's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem, because first of all, they're not. The average 20-year-old didn't build society. They go to work, come home, off to sissy hypno fetish porn, and go to bed like everyone else. I've talked about this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. Whether a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and provide for, men are lacking purpose. And a man will crawl through broken glass for a purpose. But you know who does make them feel like they have a purpose? No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
The absolute audacity to act shocked that Andrew Tate is scooping these guys up after a decade of lol male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems, but he is talking to them. The fact is, you did not care about them for years, and even now you just want to recruit them, not help them. And that's why you will fail. And hey, maybe I'll be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question. Why do you think male loneliness has been increasing? What are your solutions for this problem? And are you dealing with loneliness? And I will see you guys next time with a new video.
That was a master class, dude. There's not even much to comment on this video because she basically hit every angle perfectly. This is the reality of the world today for a man. Unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. Neither the left nor the right gives a shit about you. You are political cannon fodder. You are just a vote. Your problems don't actually matter. You know, around campaign time and voting, that's when they'll talk about your issue more and more, and then it just gets swept aside once they, sit in that magic chair. I mean, here's what some of the comments say. When you ask yourself, why am I not putting an end to my misery? And the only argument is it would make my mother sad. Doesn't feel good, bros. If my wheelchair-bound sister didn't need me, I'd be living in a forest surrounded by animals. The animals have more compassion than society does. Just imagine strolling up to a suicidal person going, don't be a rapist, and thinking you did a good job. I'm a girl, but I see so much hatred of men, and it hurts because my dad is one of the greatest people in my life. That's the key difference, sis, of why you actually appreciate men. I've seen more women being assholes than men, including my own mother. I hope all of you eventually get amazing friends and romantic partners. Hope doesn't work in a man's life. Sorry, that happy ending is not there for us. I'm 37. This has been going on longer than you think. I remember the 90s when I was a kid watching all the TV shows, commercials, cartoons, pretty much anything in the media, thinking, why is the guy always the dumb one and the girl the more mature, smart one? Yeah, this programming has been going on since the 60s. I'm 37. This has been going on. Joined the army just to feel like I belong somewhere and to escape society. 4 years later, sitting in a wheelchair, single, no legs, shamed by society, and worse than before. As a guy, all I want is for someone to care about me besides my mom and dad. Fuck. If I off myself, my parents will be devastated, is the only thing that kept me going for a while. Male loneliness really hits you when a girl is showing interest and yet you're terrified to reciprocate because you've been told that almost every action can be interpreted as creepy, toxic, or even predatory if the context can be twisted the right way. So when opportunities arise, you stay lonely because you don't want to hurt or disrespect women or break their trust/friendship. As a man who's got a minuscule circle of friends, no relationship currently, and who's only really hanging on due to a purpose that I found for myself through religious conviction, this video hit hard. There's plenty we'd probably disagree on, but let me just say thank you for letting us be seen and heard. It means a lot. Being a man is listening to everybody's problems and not being able to express our own. We're all in this shit, yet somehow this is us versus them. That somehow is tied to money, my friend. Follow the prophets and your answers will come. Catch you on the next one, boys.